A new RTS has appeared on the horizon as ZeroSpace announced its intention of releasing May 1st, 2025, as well as simultaneously launching a Kickstarter. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty of what ZeroSpace actually entails, I first want to explicitly state that this is not a paid advertisement. However, I did receive exclusive behind-the-scenes access. I've been capable of playing a lot of games of this, as well as talking with all of the developers on the development team, some of which I consider to be close friends. So with that out of the way, let's dive in. ZeroSpace is an RTS produced by Starland Studios, which has a team of about 30 developers. The most notable names being Giant Grant Games as the lead campaign designer, CATZ as the lead versus designer, Scarlet as the lead balance designer, and Pig as a design consultant and tester. ZeroSpace is set in a futuristic sci-fi setting in which 4 playable factions can be supported by 6 mercenary factions. Now, there is a bunch of lore explained, and there's a host of other things like a co-op and an actual campaign as well. All of that is on the Kickstarter, but I'm interested mainly in the gameplay. I'm a gameplay guy, so rather than just going through their Kickstarter and reading all of that out loud, I just want to show you the game, first person, first hand. Let's pop off. Before the game starts, you can pick between the 2 currently available races. We have the Grell, an alien bug species that helps Koru plants grow, blah de blah, as well as the Protectorate, a military force for good that is in charge of protecting human worlds. Now, with those races, you can also pick a mercenary faction. So you have the Maran mercenary faction, you have the Dread Raiders, and you have the Valkaru. I'm going to be picking the Grell in combination with the Maran faction. Now, the moment the game starts, I select my first little seedling over here to move down and get an expansion. I do not quite have the money yet for an expansion, but I will queue it up anyway, and the moment resources become available, it will start building. I also select a hero in the top left. For this game, I'm picking the Hydra-like hero. It's the main Krell hero for now. As you can see, as my seedling moves over, it says I require 400 resources, and it will wait here until it achieves those 400 resources. I already have a base in the main, and as you can see, there is no workers necessary in order to generate Hexite, the main resource in the game. As you might notice, there are no workers walking back and forth from the Hexite mineral patch. Instead, it is mined by having extractors on top. You can kill those extractors individually, but all you really need to do is construct a main structure, and then the extractors will start on the mineral nodes. I move out on the map with my hero to start killing some of the creeps that are guarding one of the 3 watchtowers that are on this map. Back at home, I queue up my first supply depot-like structure, which will allow me to build the initial incubator, which is the barracks building for this race. I managed to clear all of these neutral creeps, get a little bit of Hexite, and also giving me access to this tower to take it. The moment my nourishing pot or the supply depot finishes up, I start my incubator immediately. Set up my camera hotkeys and take this watchtower. Now, once this watchtower gets captured, I start gaining XP points. XP points allow me, eventually, once I reach the first level, to get the talents. Now, as you can see, there's 3 talents per level, and I need to pick one of those. Once I reach level 5, it starts again, and I can pick the second talent per row. Now, one of the things that is really cool about this game is that there are multiple things to do on the map. There's multiple incentives. So for example, these purple circles, they will spawn the rich version of the flux. So you can send harvesters over there to start mining the flux resource, which is basically the teching resource. There are regular patches all around the map, which you can also harvest, but those rich flux spots are very important to contest with. If you can get a harvester there out early, which you build with your main building, you can start gathering that resource, and if you outmine it before your opponent gets their hands on it, that's going to be a massive bonus for you heading into the mid-game. I'm trying to clear the second watchtower in the middle. You should notice my hero is falling quite low. Luckily, there's no opponent on the map currently, so I'm going to be fine capturing it.
Unit production complete. Production is now idle.
My harvester has just popped and I send it straight to these rich flux patches over here. Now there's one mechanic I haven't quite explained yet, and that is the top bar. You can use the top bar by utilizing your power. How do you garner power? Well, it naturally garners over time, but also you get more of it once you start losing units. If you lose a unit, your power will increase. This is an anti-snowball mechanic. As you can see right now, I just got my level 1 and I get to pick my first talent over here. Get to make a decision between the first 3 and I go for an increase in movement speed on all my units. I see that this rich flux is almost being mined out here by my harvester as he's enjoying the big +4s that are popping off over here. My natural's all properly set up and now I'm about to use some power over here. This is an ability called Essence Infusion, which basically makes my stingers a little bit more bulky, a little bit stronger, maybe even a little bit faster as well. Now, with all the basic concepts out of the way, let's talk a little bit about how the game actually feels. The control of the units feels quite smooth. They go exactly where you want them to be. Selecting individual units is extremely easy. I've played RTSs in the past where I really struggled with the hitboxes of units. That was not the case whatsoever over here. I really did not once want to click a unit and then didn't get it. The movement in general feels very solid as well, especially for a product that is about 2 years away from shipping. It feels like they understand that one of the most basic things in an RTS, the movement and just the feel of how you send your army, you command your army needs to be correct. There's a large emphasis on this and it feels like they have a good grasp on it. Another interesting thing is that there's full hotkey customization. I was capable of setting up my hotkeys pretty much how I use them in StarCraft 2 as well. The UI is also customizable, meaning you can put your minimap wherever you want, your resource tabs wherever you want, and all of that works quite well. Now, as you can see, I'm about to get another upgrade over here, and these are unit-specific upgrades. Once I pick one upgrade, I cannot pick the other anymore. So here I opt for the lifesteal upgrade, and that means that I cannot get the Raptor upgrade anymore. These are exclusive to make the strategic impact of getting them a little bit larger. Now, the final thing I haven't actually gone over is the mercenary. You can get the mercenary troops from your little mercenary outpost over here. They work on a cooldown. Here you can see I built the same type of tanks a couple of times and I can just use them with my main army. With all of the explanations out of the way, let's pop into an actual game that I played against one of the developers. It's the lead design, as it's my man CATZ that I'm playing against. I'll be playing with Grell and he will be playing with the Protectorate, basically the honorable humans. So I pick my first hero, the Grell hero, the snaky one, the Hydra looking one. And I actually have a strategy that I stole from CATZ himself. Because I initially started by playing 5 or 6 games with the Protectorate. Then I switched into Grell and I honestly never looked back. So I open up with a quick expansion. And then I move to my opponent's watchtower, basically, or my opponent's XP tower. I take my opponent's creep with my super ability. That basically is just a little field here on the ground, taking them out at a high pace, continuing to micro like an absolute beast that I am as well. Get a nourishing pod at home, which doesn't only give me supply, but also allows me to heal my units, which is why you often see them build a little bit further out on the map. Of course, Grell units can only really be built on top of the grass stuff, so you need to get grass everywhere on the map in order to do that. I think there's a different name for it, but we just refer to it as the grass. At least when I was playing with them, they all called it grass. So I'm just going to call it the grass as well. You know, I build my buildings on the grass. I get my incubator over here. I teleport back home with my deep tunnel ability after taking my opponent's tower. And then I go and take my own tower. This way I can get the money of both of these little bad boys. So I get a lot of the Hexite resource pretty early on. Every single kill is 5, which is honestly quite impactful in the early game. And also I'm capable of taking 1 watchtower pretty easily over here. Now, I don't have any real unit production yet, as my incubator hasn't finished up yet. I started a harvester, which I'm going to end up sending to rich flux drops. After taking out these creeps, I decided it's time to start building some stingers here, which is basically the basic unit for now. And I also add in a second incubator. That's going to allow me a little bit more unit production. It's really funny that I've noticed whenever I start playing a new game, whether that was when I was playing some little war game or now that I was playing some ZeroSpace, I really noticed that the macro part is really quite difficult for me when it's a completely new thing. You'd figure that some of the mechanics carry over, and of course they do, but at the same time, it is also really difficult to play properly. Now, my opponent goes for a little bit harassment on my Harvester, maybe try to take out one of my extractors as well. And as you can see, his hero is taking quite a bit of damage. I took out all the regular HP, then it gets a bit of a boost. It gains a speed boost and some bonus HP, so it doesn't just straight up die. We're casting the skill shots on each other. I managed to hit mine, he managed to miss his. Which means that this initial fight is actually going quite well for me. I also managed to surround, or well, not really surround, but capture one of the commandos here, basically for free, and that allows me some map control. The game is fairly action-packed, and from what I've noticed over most of my games, there pretty much is action from minute one, because your hero is out, you're gonna have some interactions. These interactions, they feel nice to play, and there's advantages to be gathered, but they aren't impactful enough, at least not at the level that I play at, where it feels like that if you lose your hero in the early game or if you lose a couple of units in the early game, that it's impossible to come back. There's so many things to do, either collecting the rich flux or just trying to protect these watchtowers, maybe harassing a little bit as well, that it feels like, yes, it is impactful, it can give you a lead, but keeping that lead is fairly difficult as well. So now that I've established map control here, I'm gonna take some watchtowers. That forces me to split up my unit, making me weak at the same time as well. I add a couple of nourishing pots as I'm massively supply blocked like a complete moron, like I've never played an RTS in my life before. Just trying to send my units back and forth. So I've managed to grab the middle tower. I have the top side tower. I see my opponent with some commandos just running around. They have a blink-like ability that allows them to just basically jump forward. My second Harvester is out now as well, which is going to allow me a little bit more flux. I perfectly time my spell over here. Boom! Slowing all of my opponent's commandos and taking out 4 commandos. I actually was on Discord at this point with CATZ, and he started to breathe a little bit louder at this point. You know, he did not want to lose to me. You know, my man's been developing this game by himself, and here I come as the newbie. And my early game is honestly fantastic. I have all watchtowers occupied right now. I'm gaining a lot of XP. The one thing that I always forget about, though, is when I'm playing, is that I also need to use my talents. XP is very nice to get, but if you forget to use your talents, it's actually relatively useless. And as you can see, I have 1 talent available to use on the top side, and I'm just not using it because, well, like I said, I tend to forget. I continue having map control. I have quite a bit of supply. I have 2-3 groups of units. Once again, I can't state enough how nice it is that all of these hotkeys actually work. The ability to steal units out of hotkeys, the ability to just send things around. It makes the control very intuitive if you come from a game like StarCraft 2. There's an all-army hotkey as well, so even for the brain-dead Terran players, there is something for you too. Don't worry, guys. I know Terrans are looking at this game thinking to themselves, oh no, so difficult, you need more than 1 control group. That's going to suck for me, but don't worry, just for the Terran players, there's an all-army hotkey in here as well. Now, I find my opponent's Harvester, as you can see, it's quite bulky, it's difficult to take out, as CATZ is just spamming commandos, basically the Marine, blinking them back individually over here and kiting me. I'm trying to get a bit of a surround over here, he just jumps over me, so wasn't the most successful surround that I've ever had in my entire life. So now I decide, you know what, maybe getting a hero kill is a good plan. It isn't. I'm losing absolutely every single unit. I have 2 talents available right now, which I'm not using. I have a bunch of power as well on the bank. Now we're going for an attempted kill here on this hero. Do I get it? Gets the speed bonus as he's close to dying, and he manages to escape. Now, I still have control of majority of the watchtowers here on the map, and I'm taking the middle one once more. You see I have 3 towers. I am floating about 400 Hexite and 300 Flux, so the macro hasn't been entirely brilliant. I also have to admit that I'm kind of a one-trick pony. So up until this point with the Growl, I had just been building the basic unit called the Stinger and the Harbinger, which resembles a Ravager a little bit. It has a similar spell as well. But yeah, I don't really know what to tech further to. I had no clue about any of my tier 2 units or units from the medium incubator, which is the second production facility. Here you see I'm like, oh, I could actually use some of my top bars. I'm infusing some essence into those units, you know, making them a bit stronger. My opponent here has bought mercenaries. This is another thing I absolutely never do because I always forget about it in these tense games. So I'm like, wait, how do these freaking dogs come out over here? Well, it's not really dogs, it's like rhinos, crocodile-like mech structures or mech units. I'm just trying to run back as I'm being kited to death otherwise. You see, I have four mercenary groups ready right now, full charges. I'm like, all right, I'll build one of these dogs as well, but I could have built a couple more. I just didn't do that for whatever reason. I once again have a talent available as well, as I see another rich flux drop here hitting the map. Now, we're only 8 minutes into the game, but it felt like quite a while. I decided to send my little stingers out to do some harassment over here as my mechanical crocodiles are running around as well. You see the mining is still going automatic. I'm adding some nourishing pots, making sure that I don't get supply blocked. I believe one nourishing pot actually gives 16 supply. So building 4 is not just a little bit of overkill, but a lot of overkill. Casting some spells here on the ground. The one thing I'll note is that there's quite a few spellcasters. So especially later on in the game, it can get pretty tricky to figure out what spells you should be casting and how to control all of those units. Maybe that's the thing that just gets better with experience, but it's something that I personally quite struggled with. The spells kind of add on top of each other. If you see when I select my main control group once more, it's actually quite interesting. You can cast all of those spells without having to tap through your units. So you just use the spells, or the hotkeys that correspond with the spell once you have them selected. Another thing that I actually haven't mentioned at all, which I find really cool, is that whenever you select a worker, you don't have to go through a building menu. You can just start building by pressing those hotkeys. So you don't have to press the B button for build. You just press whatever button responds to the actual building hotkey, which to me felt honestly kind of nice. Now here I'm running around once again with my one harvester. It's like, hey, that guy is getting flux. That's nice. I add a couple of barracks as I'm floating a crap ton of cash. I do have 3 or maybe even 4 bases already right now. And I'm recapturing the middle. Don't have a talent point available. You don't really know what you got till till it's gone. And it's the same with the talent points. Once you realize you need to use them at all times, then all of a sudden you wish you had way more of them, because they're actually quite powerful. He swapped his hero with one of my units. I didn't know this was a spell. And I also saw a bunch of tank-like units that shoot at one location. Now, I'm gonna be real with you, I had no clue what they really did, and I still really have no clue what to do. I just know that they kill my stuff way too fast, and I wasn't very happy with it. So I'm just kind of roaming around here with my main army, with my harbingers. I'm taking out a cheeky little tank over here. It's gonna put some of these zoning spells on the ground, making it hard for my opponent to chase. And here I make a significant error by not quite remembering what the map looks like. I lose my hero. My opponent also loses my hero. Now, fun fact about the hero is that it respawns automatically after 60 seconds. This doesn't cost money. You can make it respawn faster by, paying cash for it. At this point, I built a bunch of air units, which are not great apparently. I thought they were great, but my opponent has pure anti-air, so I guess not. Maybe I should have used them more as a harassment force. I don't entirely know. Like I said, I played about 15 to 20 games, so everything is quite new to me as well. I try to keep this high ground here, a little bit of a high ground advantage. As once again, they just get like a barrage of fire over there, taking out all of my freaking harbingers and the other little units. Once again, I have a talent available. I have an infinite amount of top bar available as well, which I haven't used in the past 6 minutes because I'm an idiot. And here I just stand into the massive fire for quite a while, and honestly, despite my pretty decent start, feels like at this point the game is not looking so great anymore. I do hit a big spell here on all of his commandos, but yeah, it is looking pretty dark for me right now. I have a talent available. I bet I have infinite mercenaries available. I have an infinite amount of top bar available as well, so loads of things available, but really not so many things that could save my life right now. My opponent's hero is about to spawn back in as well, as my hero died at the same time as this. Yep, there he shows up, and I'm looking to see how my rich flux is looking. Well, that's looking great, but everything else not looking so great for me. My hero barely stays alive, and well, with that pretty much dying, I also kind of end up losing the game here. Now there's another 3 minutes or so of me losing against CATZ, but who's going to be interested in that? Not me. So instead, let's just straight head to the verdict. Now, if I compare any RTS that is in alpha to a finished product that is StarCraft 2, the game that's in alpha is always going to come short to StarCraft 2. That is just how I see it. You can compare it to making a delicious dish. With ZeroSpace, I'm seeing the ingredients and, I've got to taste the sauce and I'm loving the taste of the sauce. And I honestly believe the ingredients in ZeroSpace are better than whatever was put inside of StarCraft 2. I think the incentives to fight for map control are much bigger. The games feel much more action-packed from minute one. And there really is something tangible to fight for every single second of the game. However, with StarCraft 2, I am tasting the finished product. Despite the ingredients being slightly worse, everything was cooked and spiced to perfection, and it has created the most delicious dish I've ever eaten in my life. If ZeroSpace manages to get the same level as polish as StarCraft 2, I believe that ZeroSpace will... If ZeroSpace manages to get the same level as polish... If ZeroSpace manages to get the same level of polish as StarCraft 2, I believe that ZeroSpace will be better. And if I compare what StarCraft 2 looked like 2 years before launch to what ZeroSpace has right now, I'm actually hopeful for ZeroSpace. Lots, however, can happen in 2 years, and all we can do right now is let them cook. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave down in the comments below what you think of the first look of ZeroSpace, and be sure to check out their Kickstarter as well as wishlist their game on Steam. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.